Maybe you've heard through the pipeline that Sabrina Carpenter was discovered through a Miley Cyrus singing competition, and this is true. In 2009, Miley Cyrus's fan site MileyWorld.com sponsored the Be a Star competition to find America's next great pop star. The competition functioned fully online, and contestants submitted self-produced music videos for each round. Sabrina's videos often include dancers, and she gives herself the full pop star treatment. She's incredible. Sabrina didn't win the competition. She was 10 years old at the time and competing against fully fledged teenagers, but she did get the Miley Cyrus treatment in a much more traditional way. Sabrina's big break came 3 years later in 2013 when she was cast in Disney's Girl Meets World, a spin-off to the beloved 90s classic, Boy Meets World. The show ran until 2017, and by that time, Sabrina had 2 full albums under her name, along with a myriad of other acting credits. What the fuck? Does this kid sleep? Let's rewind. In 2010, the same year the Miley World competition ended, Carpenter made her acting debut on Law & Order SVU. She plays a young victim named Paula, and who am I to judge a literal child, but I think she does a great job. And by 2012, Sabrina had booked 2 pilots, and one of them was picked up by Fox. In the 1 season of The Goodwin Games, Sabrina plays the younger version of one of the show's principal characters. In her other pilot, she plays the teenage daughter of the main character. In 2013, she appeared in an episode of Orange is the New Black. In 2013, she's cast in Girl Meets World. The life of an actor is one of constant typecasting, and Sabrina played the little blonde white girl character just as well as she would come to play the tween with an attitude problem character. In a flashback, Sabrina played a mean girl in Orange is the New Black, but her character Maya Hart in Girl Meets World is the Disney bad girl. Girl Meets World, as a spin-off to Boy Meets World, followed a lot of the same formula as its parent show. Boy Meets World follows the main character, his love interest, and his troubled best friend. Girl Meets World does the exact same thing. I am a huge fan of Boy Meets World, and I was very intrigued when Girl Meets World became a thing. I watched all 3 seasons once they were available for streaming, and watching a few episodes of the show back now, I think it holds up for what it is. The show got a lot of flack on Twitter a few years back, but I think that the show is fine, actually. It's a Disney Channel show. Yeah, it's a little goofy. Watching it back now, I'm mostly taken away by Sabrina's performance. She does a great job in this show, and it's absolutely no surprise to me that she keeps booking acting gigs after the show is over. In 2015, the Pasadena Playhouse did a show called Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, A Pirate's Christmas, and Sabrina played Wendy. The cast of the show featured many actors from Girl Meets World, and this play was received poorly. In 2016, Sabrina books her first lead gig on the animated series Milo Murphy's Law. In 2016, she's the leading lady again in a live-action DCOM called Adventures in Babysitting. In 2018, she takes a minor film role in The Hate U Give. In 2019, she shifts to a slightly older character and plays the older sister in Tall Girl. She's a pageant queen and plays the role to perfection, though not nearly enough jokes are made about how she's the much shorter yet older sister. Later in 2019, she's the lead of an indie film, Short History of the Long Road. Again in 2019, she books a leading role in the film adaptation of The Distance from Me to You, a film that lost its steam, likely due to the pandemic. In 2020, Sabrina's brand was focused on making her a star, and she landed 2 leading lady gigs. The first was in the Netflix dance film Work It, and the second was as Katie Heron in the Mean Girls musical on Broadway. I think Work It fits the genre of dance film very well, and I think that Sabrina's short-lived Broadway career is devastating. Her contract was supposed to last 2 months, and Sabrina Carpenter got to perform exactly 2 times before the pandemic shut down Mean Girls, the musical. Learning the entire track to a whole Broadway musical is no easy feat. This was her Broadway debut, and as far as I have seen, her first professional theater gig since the Peter Pan musical a few years back. I want to be shocked that Sabrina Carpenter had really good stage presence as Katie Heron, but I'm really not, because she has been a fully fledged pop star since she was 9 years old.
Jump, then fall into me.
In tandem with Sabrina's acting career, her singing career was just as fruitful as the years went on. She signed with Hollywood Records in 2014. If Sabrina had won the Miley World competition, she probably would have been given the same deal because Hollywood Records is owned by the Disney Music Group. All the big Disney Channel stars were signed with Hollywood Records at some point or another, and all of the Disney Channel stars were fucked over by Hollywood Records at some point or another. It's one of the many curses involved with being a teen Disney star. Her first full album was released in 2015, and the album was well received specifically for Sabrina's vocals. I actually really like the more bubblegum pop sound of this album. If anything, it reminds me of Miley Cyrus's first album, Meet Miley Cyrus, which is full of bubblegum bangers. Her next two albums, Evolution and Singulars Parts 1 and 2, so really this is her next 3 albums. Her next 3 albums are released through Hollywood Records, and Sabrina sounds incredible but struggles to find her sound. The album plays around with many different genres, which is not surprising because here Sabrina is a Disney kid and Disney is just going to keep throwing spaghetti at the wall until something sticks. If Sabrina has a dozen songs and each one has a different genre, one of them is likely to appeal to the masses. These albums were co-written by Sabrina and dozens of other artists. Notably, Meghan Trainor is a co-writer on a few songs, but too many cooks in the kitchen led to albums that didn't really have a particular sound. Sabrina, a white girl, mostly focuses on R&B music and has cited Christina Aguilera as one of her biggest influences for a very long time. Each of these albums has exactly one song that I think is great, but I still think the albums themselves are a good representation of the music that was popular at the time. In 2017, Sabrina was the opener for a leg of Ariana Grande's world tour. Also in 2017, she sings the theme song for the Disney Channel show Andy Mack. In 2018, you could watch Sabrina headline at the Let It Show concert in Kirby Center for $25. VIP tickets were $100 and they included a meet and greet. We as a society don't talk enough about the post-pandemic inflation, but that's not what we're talking about. In 2018, Sabrina released the single Sue Me because she was sued by her former managers Stan Regau and Elliot Lurie when she was only 18 years old. I think that this song is a beautiful bit of storytelling. She takes something really unfortunate that happened to her and turns it into a girl pop yes power banger. In 2019, she released the single In My Bed, and I can really hear Ari's influence on her sound. In 2020, Sabrina was focusing on being a leading lady, but when the pandemic shut down the Mean Girls musical, she took no time shifting right back into being a pop star. In 2021, she was finally able to leave Hollywood Records and signed instead with Island Records, and she released her 4th studio album, Emails I Can't Send, in 2022. This album is almost entirely bangers, which is very notable because for the first time, Sabrina had control over her own music. Sabrina Carpenter was 14 when she signed her first record contract, and by the time Sabrina released Emails I Can't Send, she had a much more robust understanding of the industry. But more importantly, she said, "There was no part in the process where my vision was questioned, and I'm really grateful for that." In 2023, Sabrina opened for a leg of Taylor Swift's Eras Tour, and then in 2024...
Okay. This is Espresso. Hope you like it, Coachella.
Sabrina opening for Taylor Swift is often attributed to her overnight success, but as meticulously outlined by me, Sabrina has been working hard for well over a decade by the time she received this opening act gig. During the Eras Tour, Sabrina played for massive stadium arenas, but the audience wasn't there to see her, they were there to see the other pretty blonde girl. Sabrina talks about having to win the audience over to her side, and this is where I think TikTok was really influential in Sabrina's rise to the top. Swifties have meticulously documented the Eras Tour, and through short-form content like what you find on TikTok, Swifties track what's different in each performance. Which costumes were different, how are her dancers dressed and styled, what are the surprise songs she's singing at each concert. You can easily track all these things while never attending an Eras Tour performance. thanks to TikTok. So while opening for Swift, Sabrina did a lot of crowd work to get the audience over to her side. And by slightly altering the lyrics to her song Nonsense each night, Sabrina's performances were now meticulously being tracked on TikTok.
He said I'm the prettiest, but how so? 'Cause all the hottest girls are in Sao Paulo.
A further comparison to Taylor Swift, Carpenter was almost infamous for her romantic entanglements. I'm not particularly interested in the personal drama of celebrities' lives. I've worked hard to document Sabrina's career and how each aspect of her career has affected the next, but this personal drama directly affected her work, so I have to cover it. High School Musical, the series stars Olivia Rodrigo and Joshua Bassett, who dated most likely sometime in 2019. In 2020, Sabrina and Bassett are spotted together and dating rumors start to spread. In 2021, Rodrigo releases her debut album, Sour, along with the single Driver's License, and people everywhere speculate that the song was written about Joshua Bassett, and the pretty blonde girl that's mentioned is Sabrina Carpenter. If my dating life was meticulously tracked in front of millions of people, I could easily come out on either end looking like the villain. Dating is messy, and young people dating is particularly so. Sabrina addresses the drama in her album Emails I Can't Send. I think Vicious is written by Bassett mostly because the song has a very Olivia Rodrigo style to it. It's a bit more edgy than the other songs. It has a more grunge sound that fits Olivia's brand, not Sabrina's. The song is obviously inspired by Rodrigo, but Because I Liked a Boy is the song most clearly written about the drama. Sabrina describes how the drama affected her, singing,
Tell me who I am, yes I don't have a choice, all because I liked a boy.
It's a great song, and I think a great defense from Sabrina. In Driver's License, Rodrigo speculates that Bassett cheated with Sabrina Carpenter. And while Sabrina never addresses that outright, I think she's correct in defending herself simply as a girl who liked a boy. They were all just kids dating each other, and it's really not more complicated than that. By 2024, Carpenter and Rodrigo each had their own respective world tours, and Joshua Bassett is just a guy. There's nothing else I can say about this. Let's move on. In 2024, Sabrina released her single Espresso at Coachella, and the song reached number 3 on the Billboard Top charts. Sabrina's first time breaking the Billboard Top 10. Her 5th studio album, Short and Sweet, released in August of 2024, and the Short and Sweet tour started 1 month later in September. Aesthetically, this tour solidifies Sabrina's mid-century pinup-inspired looks. While her makeup remains fairly modern, it's very clearly vintage-inspired. Her wardrobe keeps mostly to pastel tones, and her signature go-go boots are in full force. I think a lot of Sabrina's overnight success can be attributed to her incredible stage presence. Sabrina is funny, she knows it, and she's good at performing it on stage. She performs on a set, she goes through many costume changes, she needs the audience in order to perform. Her Short and Sweet tour is a piece of musical theater, and I love it. Pre-show. An animated Sabrina welcomes the audience, and a pre-recorded video of Sabrina in a bathtub is projected. Act 1 begins. Sabrina comes out of the bathtub in her bath towel and runs onto the stage. Oops, golly gee, I have nothing to wear. Oh wait! Outfit reveal. Sabrina makes a joke about the implication of live theater when her microphone isn't lowered to her, and then Act 1 really begins. Looking at the set design, Sabrina's in a beautiful penthouse that's very vintage Playboy inspired. Sabrina performs in the bedroom, in the bathroom, a living room, the vanity, the dual staircases, and a heart-shaped conversation pit. But Act 1 of the show takes place mostly in the living room. Her stylist for the show is Jared Elner, and they focused on giving the audience something new every night by changing up the colors of Sabrina's look. She starts in a bedazzled corset that usually determines her color scheme for the night, and eventually adds a baby doll layer on top. Act 2. Sabrina emerges in an all-black catsuit. It temporarily features feathers, and the color of the bow changes each night. This act takes place mostly in the conversation pit. Everyone is a little tipsy, hanging with pals, singing campfire songs. Each night, Sabrina plays Spin the Bottle and sings a surprise sing-along song with the audience. Cameras can be seen on stage. After all, Sabrina is in front of a live studio audience, and camera work is often integrated into the show. Act 3. This act happens all over the place, but the notable mentions are Juno is performed in the conversation pit, which has now raised into the sky. In this act, she wears what I call her sparkle top and mini skirt, and she closes out the show in this outfit until the encore. The encore is always espresso, and sometimes we get a bonus outfit, often related to the town's big sports ball team. This show is incredible. I love musical theater. And while Sabrina Carpenter has theoretically been following in the Miley Cyrus formula for success, Sabrina Carpenter has walked in Taylor Swift's footsteps more than once. She's faced public litigation with her former artistic collaborators. Her public relationships have been accused of being PR stunts. She keeps fans engaged by keeping them glued to her social media content. And she's become quite the capitalist. The merch available at her show isn't cheap. A baby doll tee will run you $40 and a Sabrina Carpenter crew neck sweater will cost $70. I want the sweater so bad. A few days ago, Spotify informed me I was eligible to buy special merch because Sabrina was one of my top artists, which I found particularly funny. Taylor Swift is incredible for popularizing friendship bracelets at large-scale events, but outside of that, Taylor Swift is one of the many who has helped perpetuate a culture that rewards fans who buy the most expensive merch. And I bet we both arrived at the same time. The cultural norm around Taylor Swift songs is to speculate which song was written about which ex-boyfriend. And Sabrina Carpenter has been smart enough to follow this formula for success. Because I Liked a Boy was obviously inspired by her relationship with Joshua Bassett, and multiple songs, but particularly Please, Please, Please on her latest album, were highly speculated to be about her new beau, Barry Keoghan, world's greatest moron. And of course, Sabrina Carpenter can't help but be compared to Taylor Swift. She's also a pretty blonde girl with a country-inspired voice. And she's one of Taylor Swift's best friends. Sabrina Carpenter has been singing Taylor Swift covers since she was 9 years old, so their real-life friendship is something that dreams are made of. Of course, Olivia Rodrigo was also a massive Swift fan and became very close friends with her as her career started to develop. That is, until Rodrigo admitted to being inspired by Taylor Swift's vocals, and Taylor Swift's team bullied a 17-year-old until Swift was given partial writing credit for a song she didn't work on. Things I hate. Earlier, I described Sabrina's song Vicious as being vocally inspired by Olivia Rodrigo, but Rodrigo didn't sue Carpenter because being inspired by other artists is how art is created. I'm a Taylor Swift fan. She was on my Spotify Wrapped this year, but this is some incredibly sketchy behavior from Madam Swift. Further comparing Sabrina Carpenter to Taylor Swift, for Short and Sweet, Carpenter worked with very few other songwriters, and notably, one of them was Jack Antonoff, a longtime collaborator of Taylor Swift. And like Taylor Swift, Carpenter is a beautiful storyteller through her lyrics. So, really, Sabrina is a global superstar who can be compared only to the likes of Taylor Swift. And while most of her rise to fame happened in 2024, Sabrina has been working for over 15 years for this overnight success. She's a girl who does not sleep and always has more projects in the pipeline. Like how she recorded a secret Netflix Christmas special while preparing for a nationwide tour. The Netflix special is a shameless plug for Sabrina's Christmas EP, and the special highlights all of Sabrina's strengths. She's a comedic actor, a beautiful dancer, and an incredible vocalist. Sabrina has never not been working on something, so expect to see much more from her in the coming years. If I had to guess, I would say she's gonna announce another leading lady acting role in about a year or so, or she'll go full Renee Rapp, shift full pop star, and focus almost exclusively on making music. I would love to see her as Miss Adelaide in a stage production of Guys and Dolls. She basically played that character in Tall Girl, and I think that she does it very well. Or I'd love to see whatever she does next. Whatever it is, know there is more to come. And whatever it is, I'll be there, rooting her on. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. My YouTube channel is young, but my other two videos are about Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Mean Girls the Musical. So while I'm not starting a Sabrina specific channel, this did feel like the right video to do next.